Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are joining from. First of all, let me thank the organizers for inviting me for this first global symposium on sustainable technology innovations with social impact in agriculture, environment, and digital transformation on the occasion of AIT's 50th governing board meeting and global reunion. My presentation is going to touch on the future energy sector financing, a multilateral development bank's perspective. From the viewpoint of Asian Development Bank, how we are going to look at future energy sector financing, which is obviously a very relevant topic in terms of sustainable development agenda, which we are now pursuing all over the world. With that, a small introduction, let me now switch to my presentation. As I indicated, this is going to be my presentation title, and let me move on. Net zero carbon emissions is part of this whole future energy planning, future energy scenario. So, as you know, we just concluded COP26, and we have now pledges to achieve net zero emissions from about 130 countries by 2050, and China 2060, India 2070, and Russia 2060. And but these pledges, important thing is these pledges by the government to date may not be adequate to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, which is a requirement if you are going to achieve 1.5 degree target by the end of the century. Current trend, if it goes as unabated, it will end up with more than 2 degree rise in temperature, and even more by 2100. And as International Energy Agency has indicated, the path to net zero emissions is very narrow, and it requires large-scale deployment of clean energy technologies now, and things like electric vehicle adoption very much now itself, and building retrofits with energy efficient equipment. And it also estimates it is almost equivalent to having a large solar power park, what we have now today, every day in the future. What does this mean? With this to net zero emissions by 2050. This means, as I indicated, we have to exponentially expand our clean energy investments, about $4 trillion by 2030. And this means in terms of solar and wind energy adoption, 630 gigawatts by 2030 solar, and then wind almost 300 gigawatts. This is an enormous task. And then clean transport. In terms of electric vehicle sales, now it's only about 5% of the world car sales, vehicle sales today, and it will have to jump to about 60% by 2030. Energy efficiency. Electricity or energy intensity in economy should improve by 4% every year. And if you look at the enormity of the task, by 2030, the overall economy of the world, global economy, should grow by about 40% from now. But the energy use should go down by 7% compared to today. So you can see how decoupling of energy is important when it comes to economic growth. Of course, there are benefits of low carbon growth. It's not just bringing down GHG emissions or greenhouse gas emissions, but it will eventually help to increase clean energy investments and associated jobs and growth in the economies. We will create about millions and millions of jobs, particularly in the local populations, and significant lift in global economic growth. Again, local economies will benefit, and achieve universal access to electricity in these efforts, helping the rural and the poor. And clean cooking worldwide by 2030 means health of women and children will improve because the improvement in indoor air quality. Innovation is very much required because only part of the technologies exist today will help us to bring take to 2050 net zero emissions. You need to have new technologies which are already in pilot scale or demonstration phase, and we need to put in efforts to bring this to commercial scale, which means innovation is very important. Research and development is very, very important. That's where institutions like AIT play a major role. And we have to shift away from fossil fuels naturally, huge declines in the use of coal, oil, and gas. That means there will be negative impacts on the populations connected to such developments in the past. So that's one thing we have to look at. So we need to have a just transition. And this requires sales of internal combustion engines to stop by 2035. And coal and oil power plants phased out completely by 2040. You can see the enormity of the task ahead. And then the immediate stop to development of oil fields and gas fields, and no extensions to coal mines. So you can see how much we have to move away from fossil fuels within the next 10 to 20 years. And in all these exercises, people are at the center. And multiple impacts on people's lives, as I said, transport, heating, cooking, all impacting people's lives, and urban planning and jobs, and 30 million jobs created, as I said, because of these new interventions, new technologies, new industries. At the same time, obviously, 5 million jobs lost. These are estimates from International Energy Agency because of the traditional areas of energy systems going away, going out of the system. And consumer choices, interestingly, will lead to about 55% of the cumulative emission reductions. So that means you and I will have a huge role to play here. When we decide on what we are going to buy in terms of our transport, purchasing an electric vehicles can make a big change. Retrofitting a house with energy efficient technologies, efficient lighting, efficient air conditioning, efficient refrigerators, all this will have an impact on emission reductions. And our behavioral changes when we need to move, whether we are going to go by car or public transport or cycle, will eventually decide how much of emission reductions we can achieve. And interestingly, in this whole exercise, electricity will be at the center. So by 2040, electricity will have to play a major role in final energy consumption, both in all sectors like transport, industries, commercial enterprises, households, everywhere electricity will play a major role. And supplying almost half of the total energy consumption by 2040. And this means the electricity industry requires huge flexibility. Batteries, demand response, hydrogen-based fuels, hydropower, and then obviously all the smart technologies to absorb more and more renewable energies into the system. From Asian Development Bank, we have recently approved 2021 energy policy, and it recognizes the central role of energy, when it comes to overall socio-economic development. Primary objective is focused on our developing member countries to accelerate the development of sustainable and resilient energy systems that provide reliable and affordable access to all and foster inclusive economic growth and support low carbon transition. And obviously this 2021 energy policy is a result of the accelerated change in the energy landscape, falling cost of renewable energies, and then emergence of new technologies, low carbon technologies, and cost effective those technologies. And then global commitments like Sustainable Development Goals, and then Paris Agreement, which came in 2015. And of course, the whatever agreements coming after this COP26. Then of course, our own strategy 2030 came out a couple of years ago, and that needs to be reflected in the new energy policy. So if you look at the energy policy principles as it stands now, which was just approved last month, and there are 5 principles, supports efforts to bring affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy to all, to eradicate poverty and reduce social inequalities. Then, of course, tackle climate change, which is equally important. That's policy principle 2. Then the third one is development of the institutions and financial sustainability of these utilities and the sector institutions. good governance, and private sector participation. These are all important aspects of energy sector development in the right direction. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve the targets what we are planning to achieve. And the fourth one is regional cooperation. As all of us know, more cooperation, the better it's going to be. More regional cooperation, the more optimal the energy systems are going to be. So regional cooperation and integration is very critical, not only in terms of sharing knowledge and experiences, but also sharing the infrastructure services, the generation, the transmission services, and so on and so forth. And not only that, the last policy principle, the fifth one, is combining finance, knowledge, partnerships, and country-focused approach. These are all important when you put together as a single, exercise. They cannot operate in silos and they cannot be separately looked at. All these will have to be combined to give the right kind of solutions. What are the salient features of this energy policy? I don't have to go into details. It's clean energy investments. Then strategic decarbonization, phasing out of coal is very critical, and then increasing resilience in the energy infrastructure. Then in new technologies, emerging technologies like carbon capture and storage, and then biofuels, etc., etc. And then the other important thing is that we are looking at the DMC's phasing out fossil fuel subsidies, which is very important if you want to get out of this cycle of more and more GHG emissions from these sectors. And then bringing in social cost of carbon into our analysis of projects. That's very important, so that the ones which low carbon interventions are get the right kind of benefit that they should get. Salient features: we will not support any midstream or upstream oil projects. We will not support any coal facilities or new coal-fired generation. No nuclear energy is supported as we used to anyway, even in the previous policy. No support for gas exploration and drilling activities. But we will be selectively supporting midstream and downstream natural gas projects because of the energy access requirements, and being a transitional fuel, gas will have a role to play. And then oil-fired generation in specific circumstances where there is no other alternative, economic and affordable alternative. Large hydropower will have to will play a major role in climate change, addressing climate change challenges. But at the same time, we have to be very careful when it comes to safeguard requirements. On top of that, the ADB is committed to align our operations to Paris Agreement, and all our sovereign operations are expected to be fully aligned by 2023, and non-sovereign operations by fully aligned by 2025. And we have already announced enhancement of investments in adaptation and resilience, and to overall climate financing to go up 100 billion by 2030. And in fact, in the period 2019 to 2024, the adaptation financing to double to $9 billion. And at the same time, as I said, we have introduced, we have put out, announced the energy transition mechanism in COP26, which will be vigorously pursued for acceleration of retirement of coal power plants. And few final remarks. And as all of us know, developing countries had minimal contribution to past carbon dioxide emissions. However, they suffer most. Our countries suffer most. Therefore, together we have an important role to play, and we need to confront this challenge together. ADB will continue to play a major role, as in the case of other multilateral development banks, in the energy sector development in the region. And the focus will shift away. Our focus shift away from traditional areas to new areas. We will support new and innovative technologies and approaches to take over gradually. And then sovereign financing will be very carefully used to maximize leveraging non-sovereign financing or private sector investments. And obviously, we will increase knowledge contribution in the region to share experiences, pilot new technologies, business models, and support adoption. All these efforts will eventually help low carbon energy sector growth in the region, eventually helping sustainable development, and also expected net zero emissions by 2050, and to contain our temperature rise to 1.5 degree target by the end of the century. with that note, let me stop here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much for bearing with me these few minutes. Thank you.